What is up, everyone? It's Crunchy Frog here, and I wanted to bring you another gameplay commentary, this time using Modern Warfare 2019 footage, and with another Call of Duty game on the books for this fall, Modern Warfare 2. I wanted to bring you guys a top 10 list of 10 things that I really hope to see in the game, or things that I wish to see elaborated on or done better than the last few years. If you're new to this channel, I try to do at least one, semi sit-down talk kind of commentary every single week. Throw some gameplay behind it for your eyes, and try to get at least one out to you guys, covering a variety of topics, but mainly focused around Call of Duty and other video game news like that. So without any further ado, we'll kick it right into the list. And keep in mind, this list is in no way in any specific order. This isn't least to most important or anything. These are just 10 things that I really want to see. So coming up at number 1, I want to see a more fleshed out faction system or in multiplayer. Kind of reminiscent of what we used to have back in the World at War, Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops, the quote-unquote golden age of Call of Duty. So in my best hopes, we would have at least 3 or 4 total factions. Obviously, that depends heavily on how the narrative is based. I know that from everything they revealed so far, it's probably just going to be Task Force 141 and a generic enemy faction, so to speak. But I would like to see them single it out, and especially since they have little, almost like units of the various operators nowadays, that have, like in Vanguard, they had like the Hellhounds was one of them, a grouping of different operators. Even if they broke it down to that, to just have the different little factions fight each other, but at least something to give more variety. The last few years, we've just been kind of going further down the rabbit hole of, red team versus blue team, us versus those guys. And I think in the old games, those unique announcers for each faction gave it kind of a sort of personality and kind of a little bit more immersion, and just a touch more gameplay features that kind of bring you further into the game, and definitely mix up each match to match. You have to pick different operators depending on which faction you're playing as. And you start to learn the spawns of each one, everything that goes along with that. But I really hope they flesh that out and actually bring that to the forefront in the next game. So number 2, now this is going to be a pretty obvious one, but I really hope they tone down the skill-based matchmaking. There have been heavy rumors that the skill-based matchmaking system was revamped for this year. To what extent, we do not know. Whether it was made stronger or, scaled back a little bit. There's been kind of conflicting reports, but we have heard this been reworked in some way or fashion. I really just want it to go back to the old days where you played whoever you would get the best connection to. Sometimes they were better than you, sometimes they were worse than you. And depending on your skill as a player, kind of dictated, how often you killed the opposition. If you were better than the majority of the players in the majority of gunfights, you were going to have a higher KDR. And I'll probably go into it in a later video. I could probably make an hour-long video on this topic, an entire podcast-style episode on it. But for right now, I just hope that they scale it back and get back to a Call of Duty that you don't have to sweat out every match, and you can also appreciably tell when you start getting better as a player, right? Instead of just being thrust in with a tougher lobby as you get better, you just slowly start to see that KDR creep up, slowly start to see that skill or score per minute creep up, everything like that. I just think it made the experience a whole lot more fun. So yeah, again, without delving in for 45 minutes and going on a rant, stuff you guys have all probably heard dozens of times before, we'll just leave it at, please, Activision, Infinity Ward, scale back the SBMM. So number 3, I want them to stick closer to the theme of the game with all of their store bundles. As you know, there's been a little bit of outrage recently with Vanguard in terms of how absolutely crazy and off the wall and off topic, so to speak, the operator themes and store bundles have become. I hope this time they operate closer to the bounds of the in-universe game and kind of the setting and tone of the game. Um, I think there's still a lot of possibilities for, cool microtransactions, cool skins to put in the store that still feel like they fit within universe, right? I don't, want to um, play in a somewhat gritty military shooter and suddenly be killed by a giant werewolf furry skin like they just added to Vanguard. And likewise, I don't want any egregious tie-ins. Like in Vanguard, they had Snoop Dogg, they had Godzilla and King Kong, which was fun for Warzone, but again, not so much for Vanguard, a quote-unquote World War II shooter. And now they have Terminator and the T-1000 and everything like that. It's just totally bonkers and off the wall, and you could tell they're just doing it for monetary gain. So I'm hoping if they do any tie-ins or celebrity cameos or anything like that in the future, maybe they can even just settle for having a celebrity come in but play an in-universe character. Get someone famous that you think would be great in your game and would move, some money around for you, but put them in an actual character that fits in the storyline, is in universe, and doesn't just take everyone way out of the experience. Number four kind of ties in along that same line of I want a more reasonable microtransaction, system. So as it stands now in the store, a lot of the bundles, which you can only buy in bundles, you can't buy individual items for less money, are typically 10, 15, 20. The one bundle was, I think, like 30 some or 40 some dollars. They're kind of out of reach, and they're no longer quote unquote micro transactions. For the price that we used to pay for an entire DLC bundle that included, 4 or 5 multiplayer maps and a zombie map and maybe even a gun or something. Now we're getting just like one, a couple skins for weapons and maybe one operator skin, and then a bunch of useless stickers and calling cards and stuff that we're never going to use and we don't really care about. I hope they scale it back and either make it more a la carte. We can buy individual items along the way, all the way down to maybe just lowering prices as a whole in the shop. Because I know I would definitely spend more money. I don't feel like spending $20 on a skin, but I might spend $4 or $5 on just one weapon skin, or $5 or $6 for an operator skin. And to kind of go along with that, I hope that they enter in kind of an earnable skin system, not necessarily loot boxes or that whole system by any means, but at least a way for us to earn these microtransactions through gameplay, through leveling up, through something like that. I know Far Cry and Assassin's Creed had like a weekly rotating shop where you could spend in-game currency that you earn through in-game activities to purchase otherwise, in real life money items, just from doing stuff in game. Obviously they didn't throw the whole thing at you. You didn't get, $200 of free stuff. But you still got, you were able to earn one or two things that really stuck out to you from just doing stuff in game. So moving on to number 5, we have a little bit slower movement. I don't necessarily want a sluggish or a boringly slow Call of Duty, but Vanguard almost felt too quick. And that was kind of the consensus around my friend group as well, that everything just feels so hectic and quick, and your operator is constantly moving at twice the speed a normal human would. And it kind of makes it, obviously it makes it a little more fun, I guess, than having too slow of operators in terms of the actions per minute that you'll see in game. But it's hard to, it's going to sound kind of like a get good kid moment, but it's almost too hard to hit people. They move around too quick. Everything feels like too twitchy, and it spawned a bunch of the, snorting G Fuel kind of memes out there. I hope they just scale that back. I've been playing Modern Warfare, obviously, to grab this footage for you guys lately, and I've been enjoying it because it's just a little more calmed down. Obviously it's still maybe a little quicker than past CODs, but you feel a little weightier, and it's obviously easier to hit other people, and it takes away kind of that movement, X factor, so to speak. People can't cheese the movement system or exploit it as easily if you scale that back. So on to number 6. I hope, with it being Modern Warfare 2, I know they're going to try to cash in hard on the nostalgia factor. But I'm hoping that there is a nice mix of remastered and brand new content for us here in Modern Warfare 2. I know that ultimately the nostalgia factor and the returning characters are going to move a lot of units, and I understand that. But I really hope that they don't get too lazy and rely on that. As much as I want to see remakes like High Rise, which is going to be in a new Warzone map, and Terminal and Favela and all those great maps that we remember from the old Modern Warfare 2, or even back as CoD 4 or Modern Warfare 3 maps. As much as I love to see those in the game, and I really hope they do bring some, I just hope there's at least enough nuance so we're still getting new content. I don't just want it to come out on launch day with 10 maps and 8 of them are remasters, right? And same thing for all the DLC seasons afterwards. I hope that, if we're getting new maps, we have a nice balance of them giving us new stuff and maybe tossing in a remaster or reskin here and there, just so much as it's kind of fair in either direction. All right, so kind of again tying in with that, some of these points kind of bleed together, unfortunately. But number 7, I have large content on launch. I want a large amount of content. Vanguard took a great step in this direction. One of the things that it actually did well this year by coming out with a lot of multiplayer maps at launch. A decent gun suite, nothing crazy, but a decent gun suite at launch. We remember back in the days of World War II when it came out with like 8 maps or 9 maps, something crazy like that. Modern Warfare also did not come out with that many maps. So, I hope they don't take the approach of, let's just release a little bit here, hold back the other 6 maps we've been developing and just give it to them over the course of the next 6 months, right? Release what you have, release a decent amount, and, hopefully we still get a decent amount of content given to us through the seasons. And if they have to make the seasons a little bit longer, so be it, especially the time between season 0 and season 1. But I want to boot up the game on day 1 and feel like I have a lot of content to play through and a lot of maps to learn. And so that brings us to point number 8, and I briefly touched on it, but I want beefy seasonal content drops. I don't want kind of the bare bones season drops that we're getting now, in terms of the actual season and the reloaded, like midway point. I want Modern Warfare. I just feel like gave us a whole lot more as the seasons go on, and I'm sure we can probably crunch the numbers to see if that's correct or not. But I just feel like the general consensus in the community is that overall production quality and quantity is going down on these seasonal, these seasonal DLC drops, I guess you could call them. Like this season in Vanguard, we got 1 map at season open, and we're getting another map on the halfway point, season 5 or season 4, whatever, reloaded, and that's it. So I'm hoping, to get full-fledged offerings each season. Again, even if they have to make seasons a little bit longer to compensate for that, I'd be okay with that. Such that we, maybe get 3 or 4 maps each time, stuff like that. So that's definitely a big thing for me and something that keeps me coming back to the game. It's one thing to draw me back in saying there's 4 new maps and new game mode and this, that, and the other thing, as opposed to just saying, well, there's 1 map, come on back in. So hopefully they get that on the road again here. So that brings us to number 9, and that is a longer and more fleshed out campaign. I know that's kind of on the back burner for a lot of COD fans and definitely for Activision, it seems, but I really hope that they kind of use this, the nostalgia, the characters, everything that they know people love, and actually build it out into maybe a 10, 11 hour campaign. I know that's asking a lot from a typical, 5, maybe 7, 8 hour campaigns across the Call of Duty franchise. But going back and looking through the campaign of like COD 4 and Modern Warfare 2 and everything like that, they could have been so much better. They had the bones for a great story, but you can really start to see the plot holes and the cut content places where stuff used to be, or areas where they just had to rush and fill in the gaps because they weren't allowed to make an extra mission or two to explain that story beat. I hope they take their time and actually spell out a great story for us. They haven't touted any Hollywood directors or writers like they usually do for some of the releases. So I hope that doesn't mean that they're kind of throwing campaign on the fire, so to speak, and just banking on Warzone and multiplayer. But I really think if you're going to hit us with nostalgia and Price and Soap and Task Force 141 and all that, at the very least, give us a good campaign where those characters can shine. Build out those characters. I think that'll ultimately even sell more items in the store if that's what they're really looking for. If people feel like they have a bigger attachment to these characters. So, I hope they take it upon themselves to really build out that campaign. And I feel like it'd be a win-win at that point. And finally, and this is just kind of an afternote, but I wanted to make sure that I got it on here. So we squeaked it in at number 10, but I hope that the whole gun, system is a little less, I don't want to say bloated, but that's honestly the best way to put it. I hope it's more streamlined, right? I hope the gunsmith allows you to, kind of trim the fat, or, I hope that they make it so that there's not so many useless attachments, right? Right now, there's so many bloatware, so to speak, attachments in there, attachments you'll never use, sites you'll never use, sites that are the same as other sites, but like a millimeter bigger or smaller. Just cut the fat off, give us, a decent gunsmith, a lot of stuff to play with, but don't just pad out the stats so that every weapon can reach level 70 or that every weapon can reach level 50. I did like in Modern Warfare how some guns only leveled up to, somewhere in the 40s because they just simply had less attachments. And I know with the whole new gunsmith that they're doing where you can like scale the attachments, and it has like kind of a weird min-max scale to certain attachments. I hope that gives them the go-ahead to rip out some of the pointless attachments and everything like that, and we're left with a much more streamlined approach. And I feel like that'll help with the camo grind, with the max weapon level grind and everything like that. I feel like Vanguard, they just tried too hard to manufacture engagement with the community by saying, well, we have all these numbers, but really it's only because you had to play like 20 hours to level a gun to level 70. So hopefully they get that streamlined there. So that about wraps it up, guys. I know this video is probably carried on a little bit longer than I'd like, but I want to thank everyone. If you made it this far, again, I want to thank you. And if you enjoyed what you saw so far, go ahead and remember to like this video and subscribe for more content. I will try to get, like I was saying before, at least one of these out per week. And I will probably even make further videos, maybe going in deeper on some of these points that I feel could, become their own video. I wanted to just gloss over and give a real broad overview here of all 10 points, just to, get them all in one video. But I could delve in a little further later on. And yeah, so if that's something you're interested in, like I said, feel free to subscribe. You can also find me on Twitter at CrunchyFrog without the U, and over on Twitch as well. I try to stream just about every other day. So yeah, that about wraps it up. I want to thank everyone for listening to me ramble today. And other than that, I hope everyone has a great day. Peace.